Good evening, everyone. New tonight, is Arizona's National Guard making a difference at the border?
President Trump and Governor Ducey ordered troops there 3 months ago. Today, Guard and Border Patrol leaders told a congressional hearing what they've accomplished.
But there were some awkward silences about their mission. Team 12 political insider Brent Resnick verifies what the Guard is getting done.
Hundreds of Arizona soldiers are more than halfway through their mission at the border. They're not allowed to arrest undocumented immigrants, but a top Border Patrol official made a big claim about the Guard's role in those arrests. A report to a congressional committee from the front lines of the border battle. Are Arizona's 650 National Guard soldiers making a difference?
Can you quantify the number of apprehensions?
At over 11,000 apprehensions as well. These are the Guard personnel who are either operating aircraft and are making personal observations or working camera rooms.
According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, more than 20,000 arrests have been made at the Arizona-Mexico border since April. That's when the Guard deployed to quell a migrant surge that started in March. The claim of 11,000 arrests aided by the Guard would equal more than 1/2 of all arrests during the deployment. That number can't be verified, but it would be almost double and triple the rate of Guard-aided arrests on 2 previous border deployments. Those deployments came under Presidents Bush and Obama in 2006 and 2010. Today, arrests of undocumented immigrants at the Arizona border are at their lowest level in 2 decades, a stunning 93% drop since 2000. One member of the Homeland Security Subcommittee wanted to know what the troops were trying to accomplish. The answer? An awkward silence.
What does mission accomplished look like? Or has that been articulated, what mission accomplished look like? Do we know? Okay.
The National Guard deployment across the southwestern border is expected to cost about $200 million or more by its scheduled end on September 30th. Let's send it back to you.